Have you ever experienced a moment so strange, so perfectly timed, that the universe almost seemed to be aware of you, personally? Or maybe there's something deeper at work, something beyond coincidence. I was in a very dark place, and I asked God, in thought, if I'm supposed to go to college, then send a bright red car. I couldn't even finish the question, and the bright red car appeared out of nowhere. One interesting thing is that I knew inside that was going to happen. Went to Barnes & Noble, and as I was walking in, there were several books that were on sale. The book that caught my eye was called The Illustrated Encyclopedia of Aztec and Maya, so I took a photo of the book. The reason I took the photo was to remember the book and try to find it at the library. Well, so happened that I visited the local flea market 2 days later, and lo and behold, there was the exact book and bought it for $2. My wife and I were amazed. This one is my favorite. A young woman of high education and serious demeanor was being treated by her therapist, Jung. Jung could see that her quest for psychological change was doomed unless he was able to succeed in softening her rationalist shell with a somewhat more human understanding. He needed something to help transform her. He remained attentive to the young woman while hoping something unexpected and irrational would turn up. She was describing a dream from the previous night about a costly piece of jewelry in the shape of a golden scarab. He heard a tapping on the window. Jung opened the window and plucked the scarabade beetle out of the air, the common rose chafer. Jung commented that the beetle, contrary to its usual habits, had evidently felt an urge to get into a dark room at this particular moment. The beetle, closely resembling the golden scarab from the woman's dream, was just what he and just what she needed. "Here is your scarab," he said to the woman, as he handed her a link between her dream image and the external world. Jung says this broke the ice of her resistance. It's exactly what she needed. What is that? What's going on? What is this? What are we looking at here? Well, it turns out the guy who caught the scarab beetle from the woman's dream actually wrote a book about this called Synchronicity, an acausal connecting principle. Jung, the therapist, described synchronicity as an acausal connecting principle. It connects things that are not related at all, from a causal perspective, but in the event that they occur, it's psychologically impactful for whoever it happens to.
In his all-too-short life, Poe wrote precisely one novel. The narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym of Nantucket in a severe storm that only 4 of the crew survive. And over the course of the following few weeks, adrift at sea, they slowly begin to succumb to starvation. They draw straws, and the loser is the youngest survivor, a boy called Richard Parker, who is killed and eaten by the others. The novel was published in 1838, and it was largely a flop. But almost 50 years later, something incredibly weird happened. In 1884, a yacht called the Mignonette sank somewhere in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Just like in Poe's novel, 4 men survived the sinking, and, just like the novel, soon enough, they were starving. And, just like in Poe's novel, it was the youngest member of the crew who was chosen, and, ultimately, eaten. His name was Richard Parker. What the actual f***?
What the hell? If it wasn't obvious, that was from 42. So go sub to him, yeah? Because these events are not causally related, but are meaningfully related, Jung in the book takes the position that this could be evidence for a meaningful sort of underlying principle about the universe that we can't see. It's evidence of that. I will say in reading this book, he had charts about astrology in here. Yeah. We've got Venus, the moon, the sun. POV, my genuine reaction when astrology. Jung connects this phenomenon to one of his theories called the collective unconscious. It's basically the idea that we have a shared repository of primordial images and archetypes that are common to all humans. It's just you're kind of born with it. So an example of an archetype would be the jester, the magician, the hero, the caregiver, the devouring mother. By the way, you know this even if you don't know this. Let's take the archetype of the jester, for example. We've got the Joker from Batman. We've got Deadpool. We've got Jack Sparrow, Aladdin. the genie from Aladdin. We've got Kramer from Seinfeld. I mean, these are all sort of the same archetypal outlying image of the Joker, the jester. The mom from Tangled, the devouring mother archetype, right? Mother knows best. Don't leave your tower. You might get hurt. You get the idea. Jung connects synchronicity to this complicated collective unconscious idea and makes the argument that maybe this is sort of like the external manifestation of such structure that do govern human behavior. This is sort of like the physical manifestation of these governing factors. By the way, we believe this exact same thing about other sectors of psychology. I mean, if you have an intense sadness or anger or something and you push it down, it's widely accepted that that is going to have to come out at some point, that that's just not gone now. So if there are actually underlying sort of governing factors of human behavior that we're all sort of pre-gamed just in our mind as we're born, why wouldn't they manifest themselves in the physical world? It seems in the same way that anger can manifest itself in, murder or fighting or whatever. It seems like these would be able to manifest themselves all the same. The problem is the acausal thing. What does me thinking about a red car have to do with an actual red car? And nothing, as far as I can tell.
I went out on a volleyball field. I was playing volleyball, and somebody hit the ball on a very, very powerful punch. It went way up, and then it came down and hit the top of the post, and it made this errant flight back up again. And as it was relaunching, I said, so that everybody on the field heard me, I said, that ball is going to get hit by a Mack truck. I don't know why I said that. I have no idea, but everybody heard me say it. And the ball went up and landed on a chain link fence, and then it bounced on the other side, and it rolled down about 40 yards into a main thoroughfare, and this giant 18-wheel diesel came by and popped it. Oh, at that point, I had just finished this book about synchronicity.
Before I give you a believability rating, I want to show you one last testimony of a different patient of Jung.
I felt that Jung should tell me what I should do, whether I should write a book, whether I should get a divorce, what I should do. And he wouldn't. And so I got mad at him. I said, why is everybody so mean to me? And he said, why are you so mean to everybody? So I stormed out. That was the trigger point. I was gone for a year. Every now and then I'd sit down at the typewriter and write him what a son of a bitch I thought he was. And how when I first got to Europe, everyone thought he was a charlatan. I thought he was too. I felt very good. I just felt fine. Then one morning I woke up and I began to laugh. I thought, for God's sake, what's been going on here? What a jack at you. And suddenly I realized, sure, he really hit it. And so I phoned Miss Schmidt, Fräulein Schmidt, and asked if I could have an appointment. And she laughed and said, oh, yes, she said, Professor Jung told me to save some time for you. He thought you'd be calling shortly.
Do you now believe in God?
Now? Difficult to answer. I know.
What you're seeing on screen is an interview with the therapist. This is Jung, the man who caught the scarab beetle, the man who wrote Synchronicity. I highly recommend you listen to this interview. So, believability? For me? 80%. I don't buy the star stuff. I don't understand astrology. I don't know what the point of all of that was in the book. But I think stuff like this happens. I think this is real.